All right, Calvin.
Calvin Watkins of the Dallas Morning News. I have a question for each of you. First for Brian. The process to hiring Christian was a little different from when you hired the previous coordinator. Why the change? Why it was so extensive this go around?
Well, I think obviously we wanted to get it right. We're excited about the process and how it worked out. I think, when you look at what we did last year on offense, we went through a very thorough process and came away with a bunch of guys that I really hadn't worked with, had been known about them for a while. But I think this was really just something where we were excited to say, hey, take a deep breath, let's get it right. I think we did over 40 total interviews, 9 of which were coordinators. He was the last one, by the way. He was the last Zoom that we did. And every impression we had with CP was just left us wanting more. The conviction that he has, but curious, his calm demeanor, you guys will get to know him. Just the way he carries himself is awesome. But really the process was thorough. It was long. Jerry and Steven, I think, they hung with me, which is great. We did so many layers of this thing, man. I mean, we got into concepts and techniques at every level. To hear Jerry talk about playing 4-eye was really cool for me. He's going back to Arkansas now. So, I don't think they called the 4 eyes back then. But when we got into the weeds, man, and just every time we spent time with CP, it became very clear that he was the guy for the job.
This is for Christian. Obviously, everyone wants to know, what kind of defense do you want to bring to the Cowboys?
Well, the first thing is we're going to be multiple. I think that whenever you form a defensive structure, it's about the players that you have. So core principles, we'll be a 3-4 by nature, but, 4-3 spacing will be appropriate, 4-2-5 in nickel, different front structures, coverages behind it. But I would say being multiple is probably the most important.
Stop it there, John. So everybody's theory was pretty much correct. We was all theorizing towards the end of the season when Christian Parker was hired. We all believed that we would be switching to a 3-4, based off his past, based off of his philosophy and what he's been brought up under and what he's been kind of groomed up under. And so when you watch the Eagles and a lot of stuff that they do, they like to run a lot of things with the 3-4 look, because they want their linebackers to be versatile and they want their linebackers to basically have the freedom to play with reckless abandon, to fly around, and they allow the guys up front to do all the dirty work. And so when you have the elite interior, you can play that way. And the Eagles had the elite interior, so they could play that way. The Cowboys now have the elite interior, so they can play that way. And so you can allow guys like Overshown and guys like that to kind of fly around and kind of do what they do best. But I believe we'll play that, and I believe we'll play a lot of nickel, a lot of 4-2-5. I'm a big fan of the 4-2-5 myself. I just like it, especially on passing downs. I like it. To me, the less linebackers you can have on the field, the better you are on passing downs. Unless you just have an elite linebacker who can cover like that, Unless you got like a Fred Warner or something like that, or a Luke Kuechly or somebody that's that's like that in the passing game. But I like the 4-2-5. I like how he likes to do it. He likes to bring a safety down in the box a lot of times. So a lot of times they would go just one linebacker, which the Eagles did a lot. The middle linebacker, what's his name? Braun? What's his name?
Yeah, I think it's Braun. I can't remember his first name, but it's Braun.
Braun, they would go with him, and they would put Cooper DeJean a lot of times in that box down there and allow him to be disruptive. And they would use him as kind of the ace. So if you have a running back that you need to kind of keep in check, here comes Cooper DeJean. So like when they would play the 49ers, normally is McCaffrey getting the linebacker on him coming out the flats. Now you got Cooper DeJean, on you. So I like this. I like this. And one other thing, we know this was Shotty because ain't no way Jerry holding them in interviews. Ain't no way. And Shotty said it, man. He's stuck in there with me. He want to give up. He's stuck in there with me. So, any points you have on that?
Yeah, man. I like, his potential scheme, what he has in mind. Of course, it'll be more solidified when you find out, who you have on your defensive side.
That's the nail.
But I personally like the 3-4 far as the base. It's a lot of different things that you can do out of the 3-4 rather than the 4-3. And I think in today's game, the 4-3 is outdated. Is very beatable. But with the 4-3, and then the 4-I is definitely a different look. That can definitely put some pressure on your tackle, on the offensive tackles. You can even play the wide 9 in this.
Yeah, they play a lot of that. Yeah.
And so you get you some D ends that can play that wide 9, man. If you can put that pressure on them, that'll free up your linebackers. Also, with the nickel, that can also minimize the linebackers that you have on the field, because especially in today's offenses, man, they can exploit them linebackers unless you have like one of those, like Dan said, one of those special elite linebackers that's able to adjust and do both. But most linebackers, that's not their forte. So you can add a different nickel. And I think in this scheme here, nickel is going to be key.
For sure.
And this nickel here, your nickel can either be, if you come across a linebacker that can cover, or if you have a safety or another corner.
Caleb Downs.
Caleb Downs. Yes, sir. So if you can have one of those, like you said, like a Caleb Downs, then the nickel is very key in this defense. It's almost, I would venture to say it's probably the top key position on this defense, if I'm going to be honest. So this also solidifies that they're not going to bring back Dono, because Dono is not smart enough to play in this type of defense. You have to be smart to play in this type of defense. If you're just one-dimensional like he is, this defense is not for you. But I digress. I don't want to just keep going on and on. Keep going. You got anything else to add to that before we get back into it?
No, just I like the being multiple, depending on who you play. So if we play a run heavy team, we'll see a lot of 3-4.
Yeah.
We play a team that likes to pass and air it out, you see a lot of nickel.
Yeah.
And a lot of, and I like they run a lot of stuff out of the same coverage. Like, if we're running cover 4, and I like how multiple the 3-4 is, all those linebackers coming or they dropping out. The Eagles did a lot of that. If you go back and watch the tape,
you don't know who's coming.
You don't know who's coming. They might not blitz at all.
Facts.
So I like that. But we can keep going.
Clarence Hill, DLLS Cowboys. First, Shotty, talked about the trust that Jerry and those guys showed.
Watch out for him, man.
Well, again, I think,
Messi.
Jerry and Steve and I, grew very close over the years. Just we had real conversations, as you know, Clarence, and spent a lot of time together. But we did this together, and it was awesome, and the process was awesome. And I'm not being funny when I say, like, to get, Jerry to be willing to sit in on 40-something interviews, was extremely. I was stoked. I was so excited that he wanted to dive deep into the weeds with us and go into the fundamentals and the techniques and all those things we talked about. And, we stayed in constant communication, and that's how you feel great about it. And like I said, like we told all the candidates when they came in, for us, we felt like last year we were able to build a program on offense, and we wanted to build a program on defense where you're self-sustaining. You've got great coaches, and if And when we win, which we're going to win, and we're going to compete for Super Bowls, people come after your staffs. You look at what Seattle and some of those teams are dealing with right now, and you want to have the infrastructure and the people underneath to where, you promote from within more times than not. And so it was a great process, and they were in it along the way, along with a few other guys. And I believe in the process. I'm a process guy, and I think we hit a home run with this guy.
Yeah, it seemed like you were barking up the right tree. All the guys that got second interviews got jobs, and everybody loved him in their respective cities. But what stood out about CP that put him at the top of the list?
Again, the way he carries himself. He's wise beyond his years. I mean this. He's convicted. I did tell him that I was a coordinator at 32 years old. He's 34, so he's been slacking. I'm a little disappointed that I had to beat him by 2 years. But I say that in jest because he's been preparing for this for the last 4 or 5 years. When you're designing defense, you're the pass game coordinator on defense. You're basically involved in calling third downs and giving those things. And I say it because it's real. He was the last Zoom that we did, and as he started talking, it wasn't just him talking about his watches and his shoe game. He got a serious shoe game. Yeah, he got a shoe room. You guys can write about that. He's got a shoe room. Man, every time we talk, we just would get off a call or get off the Zoom and get off the interview, just be like, damn, I want more of that. And I think his ability to develop players is very obvious. You look at what he did in Denver, involved with Surtain, and you look at what they did in Philadelphia, obviously with Cooper DeJean and Mitchell and guys like that. He's done it. And ton of respect for Vic Fangio. He's cut his teeth under Vic, but he's not Vic. He's got his own convictions and beliefs, and that's what I love about the guy.
Real quick, congratulations.
Thank you.
What stood about the Cowboys for you, and why did you want this job?
I think when we initially started the process, you could tell there was an aligned vision for what they wanted in the position, where we wanted to go forward. Obviously, a great deal of respect for not only the organization, but the players involved on the team, having been in division for the past 2 years and having different times going against them. Significant offensive firepower, stayed up a lot of late nights trying to prepare for. So it always helps when you have a franchise quarterback and offensive skill players on that side of the ball that can control the game for you.
That's key. He throwing shots.
So you caught it just like I caught it.
Yep, he throwing shots.
It's hard to call a defense or coach a defense when your offense is putting up 200 yards total offense per game.
That's why he's throwing shots. He was like, when you have an offense that can control the game and that can instill fear onto the other side of the ball, that helps the defense out a ton. So he's come from a top defense in the league, but their offense struggled, and their defense had to carry them through majority of their games this season. When you watch them play, the defense kept them in the game when they had no business being in the game.
Facts.
And the defense would hold on as long as they could and keep the game close, and the offense could never take advantage, even on takeaways. They could never take advantage of it. And he's throwing shots and said, man, it helps when you got a franchise quarterback and you have weapons out there and they know how to take advantage, of a situation, or they know how to take advantage of a defense.
And just think about it like this. How many games this season that they had scoreless second halves? The offense. It was multiple games where it was scoreless, not even field goals.
Versus Dallas.
Scoreless.
We went 24 straight points.
Second half. So when you haven't continually to overcome that obstacle week after week and to get stops, man, that gets pressing, man. That gets tough. And so him realizing here, that's definitely not the case. We just need a formidable defense here.
He's saying if I can bring a defense that's good enough and that's comparable to winning, I have trust in this offense can take us where we need to go.
Yo, facts.
All I have to do is just do my part. And so Shotty said something that was key. He said a lot of those third down calls or passing downs comes from him.
Mm-hmm. He the one that coordinates that.
He coordinates that. When it's 3rd and 12, that ain't Nick. They ain't Fangio. That's Christian Parker.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that's saying, hey, back in, we're in this, or we're in this rotation. Hey guys, we're showing this. We're gonna hop into this. He's the one that's doing that. Like if you go watch some of their sideline videos, it's him over there talking.
Yeah, matter of fact, a few weeks back, when we showed some clips of him coaching, he was over there getting them aligned, letting them know what they're gonna do, letting them know the situation. So that was key.
So that's big time. We had to point that out. It was a subtle shot. He's a very calculated guy. He's a guy that don't just say stuff just for the sake of saying something. You know, he's into philosophy. So everything he says has a meaning.
He's very stoic.
Very similar to Shotty, right? Shotty say what he means what he say. You know, so if Shotty say, hey, this is this, or we got to do this, this, and this, then that's what Shotty gonna do. You know, Shotty said, man, we sucked on defense.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy probably would have ran it back.
That's a fact. And I gotta say this. I think that Mike McCarthy might have had more power than he let on, and he just didn't utilize it like Shotty is.
Well, they have two different temperaments. Mike McCarthy is more of a
go along to get along.
Like he don't want to have a lot of confrontation. Shotty is saying, no, sometimes confrontation is needed.
Yeah.
Like we have to be able to get into healthy arguments about what's better for the team. And Shotty is saying, I'm willing to do that. And at the end of the season, him and Matt Eberflus got into some heated altercations. And we seen some of it spill on the field.
And that's why Eberflus ended up in the booth. He was like, man, I don't even want you down here
on my field. Like, cause you don't even know what we're doing.
I'm having to go into your meetings to help you try to get this fixed.
Exactly. So Shotty was spending time and taking time away from the offense, going into the defensive meeting, trying to solve the problem. Hey, what can we do? We shouldn't be this bad. And the main thing was guys didn't know what was going on. Like, it ain't that guys are just getting beat. It's guys don't even know where to be.
Mm-hmm.
How can we fix that? If we can fix that, we could be this much better. If guys just know where to be.
Facts. It shouldn't be everybody every time. We gave up 60 touchdowns last year. 60.
That's a disgrace. And so Shotty, that's what Shotty is saying. Like, I gotta burn timeouts because guys on the field are doing this, and it's a critical down. It's 3rd and 5, and guys are holding their hands up like, hey man, what are we in? The head coach is looking like, man, time out. Like, and there's tape, you can physically see him yell at Flus, like, what are you doing? And Flus just kind of like head down, like, bro, what are you doing?
Got the Eli Manning face.
And we'll hear later on in this interview of Shotty take more shots at Eberflus, of saying of how he built the offense for a culture to be able to prolong itself no matter what they have to plug in. So if we lose Clayton Adams or we lose a significant piece on offense, it's able to plug in someone else because there's a structural thing that's already been set in place of how things are going to work. And that's how the Rams do it. That's how the Chiefs, that's how a lot of good teams do it. So that no matter what we lose, our fundamentals and foundation is set.
Yeah.
So if Christian Parker comes out to be what we think he's going to be, like he wants to set a fundamental, like, hey, if Crystal Parker's gone in 2-3 years, we're not like, oh man, what?
We have a philosophy in place.
Exactly. We can hire in-house because we already have a philosophy. That's what other teams do. They just promote people.
And keep it moving.
Exactly. Oh man, use the pass game coordinator. Come on up. Like, hey.
Yeah, you look at the 49ers, the Rams, them type of teams.
They hire in-house, man.
Hire in-house and keep rolling.
But I think the biggest thing was just the alignment. You could feel from everybody in the building during those interactions that there was a shared vision involved, and people wanted to move forward in the right direction.
Christian, Todd Archer with ESPN. How ready are you for this?
I'm ready.
Where is the
I love that. I ain't finna sugarcoat it. I ain't finna give you no word salad. I'm giving you these 2 words. Move on. I'm ready.
I like that he's a matter of fact. Like, I didn't even think that he was even going to mention what type of defense they were going to run. I thought he was just going to kind of dance around it like, well, we'll see. You know, it depends on the personnel. You know, we'll see what we have. He like, nah, this is what we're running.
It's running. It's proven. I got a Super Bowl ring with this.
You know, he didn't sugarcoat nothing like, nah, we run the 3-4.
3-4.
Y'all heard it right? You go ahead, coach. Yeah.
It caught Todd Archer off guard. He like, hold on, wait. I said, how ready? I already said what I said. I'm ready.
I mean, and I think that you don't get a job like this with the candidates they were interviewing.
40 interviews.
And for him to be the last interviewer, and for him to basically make them erase the whiteboard and say, hey, he's our top candidate. And he, mind you, he had to do all his first interviews on Zoom on the Zoom because he was snowed in Philly.
Facts.
So he couldn't get a flight out. So he's doing all this on Zoom.
It's tough.
Whereas a lot of guys got to come into the building. So to leave your impression like that and leave the rest of the guys saying, man, this guy here is different. Not only do you have a plan, because every coach come in with a plan. Like, oh, man, we going to do this. We can do this. We can fix this way. It ain't just the plan. It's the philosophy behind the plan.
Facts.
Why we're going to do this. Not how we're going to fix it, but how, this is the way, and this is the reason why I'm choosing this method. This is why it works, and it works on so many levels. These are the key positions that we need. You already got the interior line.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we can address, and so Shotty and the Joneses are looking like, well, we can do that. We need a linebacker. We need this. We need corners. Okay, we can do that.
And it doesn't leave your corners on an island. So,
no, they're gonna have that too deep.
huh?
They're gonna have that too deep.
Oh yeah, too deep. Even one off. Yeah,
you ain't getting no bombs like that. You don't
that's
play that.
You know you're ready to handle it.
I think confidence comes from preparation, and I think that I've been able to learn from the right people. So I think that when you've been involved with different people along my journey that I've learned under as head coaches and defensive coordinators, number one, and then the diversity of scheme that I've been involved with, and then you kind of become accustomed to what you're comfortable with in your own ideas. You like certain things, you don't like certain things, what will work, what won't work. I think as you kind of get involved with different people, you kind of form your own identity. So when you have that opportunity, you know what you want to do. And I've kind of gone through that process internally for a great deal of my career. So I've prepared as much as I possibly can at this moment.
And obviously it wasn't a good year for the Cowboys defensively last year and what they did, but your thoughts on what is in-house here and how you can improve the guys that are already here as opposed to waiting for what happens in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, the game is definitely won and lost up front. And we have significant players in the front seven. And so I think that when you start with that defensive line room and what you're able to do in controlling the pocket, stopping the run, you control what an offense is able to do, and you're able to dictate to them on their terms. So you're not playing the whole playbook when you win first and second down. So I think it starts there. That's where the excitement starts. And there's several other pieces that have been proven playmakers. And we look forward to kind of bringing it all together in the next couple months.
John Shotty with The Athletic. Obviously, a big part of your job is teaching. What do you think makes a good teacher?
I think you have to know the student first and foremost. You know, you have to know who you're talking to. What might hit one player's brain is going to hit different than another. So, you know, being thorough and being detailed, being very clear and concise in terms of your messaging and when to correct, when not to correct. You know, sometimes players got to touch the stove. You just want to do it in a controlled environment. But just how to do that, the diversity of teaching, whether it's on the field, in the meeting room, Kahoot quizzes, physical quizzes, showing them video examples, having them teach in front of a room. There's so many different ways that you can kind of get in the weeds of teaching, scheme, technique, situational awareness, and really you just want to expose players to as many different examples because it's going to hit everybody differently in terms of how they're able to learn that.
That's good. That's good there. That's what I mean, philosophy. that's good.
That's what was missing this last year. The lack of teaching or willing to teach or even being able to adjust your teaching to make sure everyone in the room gets it. Because like he said, it hits everyone's brains a little different. And so for him to recognize that and understand that, and yeah, you're going to make mistakes, but let's do it in a controlled environment. Let's not do that on Sundays.
Yes.
Let's do that on Wednesdays. So we can correct it and address it. And so on Sundays, that's not an issue.
I like I like how he said we want to make sure that, you know, basically he's saying whatever I need to do or however I need to reach a player, we'll do that to reach that player. Right? I think Eberflus was more of a type of guy. He stand up in the front of the room, he goes over the coverage, whatever. He might ask a few questions, and then that's probably it. He's saying, nah. Yeah, I stand up there, I teach it to you. We'll go over it. I even ask some questions. But during this training camp, you're gonna come up here and you're gonna walk us through it. And having your key guys do that, set the tone and set the leadership for this team. If your key guys can go up there and they can teach this scheme, your defense is going to be really good because they are able to make sure everything is aligned and everything is run. And the main thing that stood out that Cowboys have been struggling with for the longest is situational awareness. Knowing the yardage, the distance, the down. It's freaking 3rd and 3. Why are you 15 yards back? You got 2 deep safeties. What the heck are you doing? Why aren't you in this guy's jersey? I'm sorry, y'all. I have a flashback, man. Y'all don't this season was frustrating, man. Y'all, man, jeez, man.
I don't know, it might be for both of you, but as you were filling out the defensive staff, how important was that when you were interviewing candidates, the teaching aspect of it?
Well, I'll take it first. I think, you know, I was impressed with Christian, obviously, through the whole process, but impressed me even more was when I saw him interacting through this process of going through the interviews for the position jobs, right? Like, there was an alignment he and I had talked about before we offered them the job about, okay, well, let's talk about some things because obviously there's a very competitive field when you're trying to build a staff and there's good coaches out there. There's good coaches in different realms, but seeing him through the interview process, you know, John, got me really excited about him as a leader, him being, you know, very comfortable having the hard conversations. That's what I am. I'm a person who loves to have hard conversations. And again, the reason we wanted to talk before we decided to do this partnership was to make sure we could have those hard conversations. And so I think that's something from the very beginning that I felt great about. Anything with staff?
No, I think that we, you know, extensive search, you know, very thorough, trying to just balance it. I think, you know, compatibility is very important. And obviously the teaching element is significant, right? But you want to have the right collection of people by position, whether it's, you know, what schemes they've been in previously, what they've done, their area of focus and expertise when it comes to game planning and all that kind of stuff with player development. And, you know, we definitely feel like we have the right mix.
Is the interview process the first time you guys have ever met?
No, we met when we had joint practice when I was in Denver in 2022. There was like a little coaches mixer at Ocean Prime out there in the Denver Tech area.
Good
we
memory,
met real
man.
quick.
See how smart he is? I wouldn't remember
Yeah,
that.
we met real quick.
I was consulting it.
But that was a, just quick handshake introduction. There was a bunch of other people around during that time, but actually having, conversation and talking football and everything else, this process was the first time.
And you guys know this with me, like this is a name that I've had in my notebook for the last couple of years. People just kept talking about this guy from Denver and Green Bay originally, but Denver and then in Philadelphia, and so he was a name that I'd been, hearing a lot about for a long time, no different than Clayton Adams, in terms of, hey, if you ever get a shot, these would be names that you would be intelligent and smart to talk to.
Yeah.
Hey, Christian, Nick Harris, Forward Star Telegram, congratulations. Obviously, your experience is pretty deep. Brian mentioned Vic Fangio, but also Vance Joseph, even Mike Elko. How do you see those guys playing into you building this scheme and call sheet for the first time in your career? And then where do you see your little nuances coming into play as well?
Yeah, a lot of them have a lot of similarities but differences. I think foundationally, Vic, Vance, Mike Pettin, Coach Elko, Ajero Evero all came out of a 3-4 structure. I think that once you get past that, from the fronts you build and the coverages you do and the personality on third down, red zone, you definitely have a mentality as a play caller, but I think that it's still going to be designed around the players that you have. So there's different nuances that I've taken from each one of them. And even people outside of that, as I've had extensive studies and you build relationships outside of the circle you've been in that you want to incorporate with what you want to do.
And then are you more of a guy that falls under the line of thinking of building a scheme around the players or acquiring players to fit the scheme?
I think you build it around the players. Of course, you want to have your core principles and foundational beliefs, but as you kind of move forward in the process, what do your guys do well? How can you put good players in highlighted positions? How can you create one-on-ones for certain guys? How you can protect certain guys? If we can win on blitzes on a running back, then we're going to blitz a lot. If we got good man-to-man corners, we're going to play man. If we have guys that are better with zone vision, we're going to play more zone. So, you want to build a package that has diversity and scheme, and then you want to, tailor it to the players that you have. And, of course, there are schematic fits, but I think the really good players are the ones that you can't peg them in a certain scheme, and that's the only way they can play football. You want to have guys that no matter what scheme they're in, they can be significant contributors, and then you want to just highlight it around their strengths.
Bro, why was this so hard? Why was this so hard?
Because you have an innovative young guy has grown in today's football. He's not stuck in the olden times of the way football is ran. And so in older time, like what we're in, whether you can play it or not. He's saying, no, we're not doing that. Like if you can't play man, you ain't gonna be out there, brother.
He ain't gonna be there.
That's what he's saying. So like we have a package and this team, we need to play them man, and you can't play man.
You're not playing.
Point blank period. Or we gotta play zone and you don't have the vision to play zone, you ain't gonna play.
You ain't playing.
That's what he's saying.
And then I like how he has the awareness. Okay, if we don't have these certain type of players and I want to play this certain type of scheme, we're not going to keep trying to press it. We're going to adjust to what we have and go from there.
And then also putting guys where they excel. That was big for us last year, having guys doing something that they don't do well. Like, to me, like having guys like Lil Fowl, like having them coming downhill, shoot, even a Donovan Wilson. We kept saying, man, bring Donovan Wilson downhill.
We had him at cover one.
Shoot, one-on-one coverage. You got him and Marquise Bell guarding St. Brown from the Lions.
Cooked.
This is this kind of stuff that Dallas was doing.
That's why I said, why was it so hard? It just like common sense should kick in. Like, why would we keep doing this and this is not working? It just like banging your head against the wall, man. But I'm glad we have him, man, and he has this mindset and this philosophy, man. It's very refreshing to hear.
Beliefs, philosophies, what are those for you, one or two?
Yeah, I think definitely want to stop the run and affecting the quarterback. I think are the two most important things you can do. You affect the quarterback by stopping the run. Sometimes affecting the quarterback comes through pressure. Sometimes it comes through disguise. Sometimes it comes through just the talent that you're able to have and the ability to play, the play style. But I think those two things are where it starts. Because if you can stop the run, you can get teams in predictable downs on second, get back on track, and then third and longs, then you have more schematic versatility. If we're playing a whole bunch of 3rd and 2s and 3rd and 3s, usually those aren't the defenses that are successful. But if you can win first down and you're strong in the fundamentals, we're getting off blocks, we're tackling, we're attacking the football, we're situationally aware, those are the ones that are successful.
Tom Yars, DallasCowboys.com. Hey, Christian. Just overall, in your past, you've had a strong track record with corners and developing them. What do you make of some of the guys that you've got now here in Dallas, like a Savon Rebel or a Deron Bland? And what do you see their next steps being under your vision?
Yeah, I mean, they have different strengths. Definitely evaluated Rebel last year in the draft process. Had one of his teammates at Denver, Jaquan McMillan from ECU, so kind of had a little bit of intel there. But, his ability to erase receivers in press coverage, he's very aggressive in run support, and he has the long speed and athletic traits that you want at the position. Obviously, coming off the injury, getting him healthy is a significant part of that, and him having the confidence to do so. And then Bland, just he's instinctive and he takes the ball away at a high rate. You saw that from Sac State to Fresno to now here. So very excited to work with those guys.
Now that you're the coordinator, not as much time to spend with the defensive backs, how do you plan to manage your time so that you can still keep developing defensive backs like you have in the past and also manage all the units on your defense?
Yeah, well, I think it starts with the coaches that we hired. Have a lot of confidence in Derek Ansley, Ryan Smith, and Rob Muschamp in the secondary to drive the bus when it comes to that and the development. Obviously, my eyes are naturally going to start there when it comes to it, and I'm going to have to fight the magnetic force during individual periods that's going to draw me to the DVs and go somewhere else. But have a lot of confidence in those guys to teach and develop those players, and we're excited about that.
Jane
Slater, NFL Network. Coach, do you think last year your team had a defensive identity? And if it didn't, what did you want it to be at the end of the season?
Yeah, again, I think, talking to the players, I think they did feel that way a little bit. And I think, there was a change that was made, and the change was made when we got Quinnen. And all of a sudden the 5 down becomes real, and so you start making those adjustments. The biggest thing I would say, Jane, though, was it was more about the identity moving forward. And that's why the process was so long. That's why it was so many Zooms and so many interviews. And you get the coordinator, you're not done. Because, again, Christian's a great coach, but, again, you got to have the position rooms, managed the same way. What's been awesome for me, Jane, has been the excitement of our players. Our players are around a little bit, whether they're just hanging around, but they're coming to see him and be around. You see the excitement for Christian and the other staff and the connection that's already started. And so for me, that gets me excited because, again, that's what you want. You want these guys to be excited about not only what Christian, but Marcus Dixon, Scott Simons are all going to bring to this defense. And there will be an identity and there will be a philosophy. And I think that we've done the first part, but there's still a lot of work left.
My next one's for Christian. One thing we got to know with Shotty last year was his why. What was your why when you got into coaching?
I think that I had a lot of coaches over the course of my life that really helped develop me outside of my parents. The discipline, the confidence factor, the team element of it. I think, I'm the oldest of 3 boys, so, being a big brother, there's an element of that in the coaching side too, in terms of the relationships that you build and how you try to help them learn from their own mistakes, but also not letting them fall under the same things that you might have encountered. And I think just passion for the game. I love football. I love everything it brings, game day, practice, the late nights watching film, all that stuff. And then you kind of find this happy medium, and it never feels like work.
Scholar.
Skyler Dixon with the AP. Christian, welcome. Cooper DeJean had some high praise for you on social media when the news broke. And Shotty mentioned the development of him and Quinion Mitchell. I just wondered, from your point of view, how much do you think the development of those 2 guys and maybe some others sort of led to this opportunity?
Yeah, I think, great players make great coaches. So, when you're around talented individuals that love the game like you do and they're willing to put in that work, there's definitely a happy marriage there when it comes to player development. They challenge you as a coach. I mean, there's been plenty of players that you learn from them, whether it's how you taught them or things they might have done at a different stop or how they see the game between the lines. So I think it's definitely some give and take there when it comes to that. But I was definitely blessed to have coached some of the guys in my past.
Did you watch the NFC East Hard Knocks at all?
No.
Okay. I'm just curious if you would see kind of inside this building. I know you don't get to see deep inside of the building and that, but
I avoided. I didn't want to watch that stuff. No.
Ask him about The Gambler. Does he watch The Gambler?
I did.
Yeah, he did watch The Gambler. Smart man.
Yeah, so I did.
Give me the Cliff Notes.
That was kind of my, I kind of I was snowed in Philly and, accepted the job. I was there, couldn't get really out. And we were just, doing Zoom interviews all day and stuff. And I started watching a couple of those episodes to try to educate myself a little bit. So, yeah, that was good.
give us any insight into the Philly-Dallas hate. Philly hate for Dallas?
It's real. Yeah, it's real. I think it's mutual too. So, yeah, it's real. I think all division rivalries are a great part of the game and why you do it. That's what makes it special when you have those rivalries, and that usually means you're playing for something. You don't have rivalries if you're a bad team. You have rivalries when you have significant opponents and those games are high leverage situations, and that's when the best players show up.
Garrett Podell, CBS Sports. Christian Bryant talked about using 5 down fronts to get guys like Quentin Williams, Oso Digizua, and Kenny Clark all on the field. What is your thought on kind of making sure 3 highly paid interior defensive players get, commensurate play time given their money?
Yeah, I think you have different ways of doing that. 5 down is one of them. There's some different 4 down structures you can do that with as well. There's 6 down presentations you can do that with as well. So, like I said earlier, the defensive line and winning the game up front is significant. So how we can change the math and get our best players on the field will always be a part of what we do.
Brian, I know you've talked about here when it comes to player acquisition and things like that. Obviously, Jerry runs the show for that. But what have your talks been with him about in terms of rebuilding the defense, the resources the team can maybe look to committing for that in free agency?
Yeah, I think it's really just getting started, Garrett. I think you come out of this search and you go through this process of hiring the staff, and now we're going through the process of making sure the critical factors by position are filled out. As we get ready to go into an exciting time of the combine and the draft prep and free agency and all that stuff. But it's an exciting time, and the one thing about our process is going to be daily. It's going to be 24/7, 365. And like I say, Jerry's a great listener, man, and he asks great questions. And I think that's why the way we do it, we have a lot of success because it's very collaborative.
What are your critical factors?
Critical factors by position. So like for corners, what we're looking for in a corner, whether it's measurables, okay, but then things are going to be asked to do, traits. And so obviously we had that filled out on offense, and we had the same thing on defense last year, but they're going to be a little different. And so, how you talk about using a 4-eye or how you use outside linebacker and some of the pieces that we have in place, and then some of the areas that we need to, add through the course of free agency and the draft.
Kevin.
Christian, Kevin Sherrington, Dallas Morning News. Did Jerry promise you that the first 2 picks would be on defense?
No, he didn't.
Thank goodness.
Are you going to be campaigning for that?
Absolutely.
And did you bring any Eagles with you? Are you bringing any Eagles with you?
We'll see. I can't really speak about that. Worried about the guys that's on the
We
roster
know
right
he
now.
is.
He can't say it, but he's saying it, but he can't say it.
That's
He's like,
temporary. He can't get on there and be like, yeah, man, I'm talking to him, man. We could tell, when they interviewed Reed Blankenship, he was like, yeah, what about he was like, we'll see, man.
We'll see.
You might get a Reed Blankenship, a Dean, the outside linebacker. You might get some of those guys in there, man. And no, I would say this. The reason why I'm confident that there will be some of his former players there, because bringing guys in who know your philosophy and who kind of knows how you like to do things accelerates the learning process of the whole defense. When you can put guys out on the field who already know where to be, what to do, what's expected, it accelerates. And I'm glad to hear that the players are excited. I heard players been coming into the Star, just to talk to him or meet him. I know Quentin is excited over Sean. Is excited, and
Marquise Bell.
Marquise.
He ain't probably gonna be here, but I think he's He politicking right now.
You know, so you know, but you know, I'm excited and you know, Shotty, you know them first two picks gonna be defensive dogs. So you ain't getting them but the offensive line out this draft.
Come on, dog. Come on, man.
It's gonna be at least 4 or 5 defensive guys, man. You getting up out this draft, man.
That's a fact.
Brad.
Brad Sham, Cowboys Radio, 105.3 The Fan, welcome. As we watched the playoffs, it became apparent defense was much more pronounced as the playoffs unfolded. Do you think defense is something that builds through the course of the season, or can you be dominant all year? How do you think that works?
Yeah, I think you can. I think that definitely as the year goes on, you find your personality from your play style and your players and putting them in those situations. I think that, playoff football, especially, in the elements, that's when the real defenses definitely show up in January and February. But you definitely want to, try to approach the offseason and training camp in a way that you can start fast in terms of execution. That's most important in the fundamentals, because it doesn't matter what your scheme is if you don't do the little things the right way. So you have to start there, and then as you kind of get through the season, you continue to build on those foundational blocks. And then you should have a really good idea as the year goes and the roster is more consistent in terms of what you do and don't do well.
Thank you. And the Philly hate being real. What did it feel like taking off the green and putting on the blue? And have you heard from any of your players there that said, man, why'd you have to go there?
Yeah, first they were just real excited for me to have this opportunity. Of course, they had mixed emotions about having to, see each other twice a year on different sidelines, but just excited and blessed for this, being here. I think, again, any team you talk to in a division, there's going to be some emotions about that, but it's all respect at the end of the day because, we're all trying to reach a common goal, and everybody has those individual aspirations to make that happen.
Did it feel weird putting on the blue?
It did, but that didn't last too long. Yeah.
Jalen Hurts gonna have a tough time.
You, Coach Parker, by the amount of research correctly, political science degree you finished with. How was that understanding of leadership and systems helped you be a better coach when you were in your other stops and continuing to be when you were going to be a defensive coordinator? Yeah.
I think, going to the University of Richmond, small school, small class size, obviously in the political science realm, a lot of the stuff is centered around the debate element or discussion. So when you have those conversations about different leaders in the past, whether it's, on the philosophy side or world leaders in different countries and figuring out different vantage points on why they did what they did, I think it definitely leads into the coaching world, whether it's, your Marcus Aurelius and Seneca and the whole, philosophical realm there with the principle of stoicism and things like that, or just, the art of war and that kind of, military strategy, all those type of things. You see those worlds blended a lot when you come to those different backgrounds. And so the books that I might be was supposed to read that I didn't, you kind of end up circling back to when you get into this.
And then for Coach Schottenheimer, who are some people that you lean on when you have questions? Everyone comes to you being the head coach. Who is somebody that when Coach Schottenheimer has a question, he goes to?
Oh man, it's a good question. There's so many. It depends. A lot of times if it's personnel driven, John Schneider, out in Seattle, it's usually people that I've been, to battle with, and that care about me as a person, know me as a man, know what's important to me, because there's great advice, right? Everybody has great advice. People have been exposed to different things, but if they don't know where I'm coming from, then you lose the authenticity part of it. But, just because we're into the personnel side of it right now, like John was the first name that popped in my mind because I just think he does a great job. Obviously, they just won the Super Bowl, but he's been doing it for a long time together. And he and I used to do pretend drafts, late at night, and it's cool to see the success that he's had.
I just wanted to just point out it's very important on who's in your circle or who you're getting information and advice from. And John Schneider, for like you said, the one that don't know is the GM for the Seahawks, who just won the Super Bowl. And the way he put together that Seahawks team, specifically the defense, it was amazing. And then not only that, him having the foresight to bring in Sam Darnold for the type of team that he needed. He didn't need a superstar guy. He needed a guy that can drive the bus.
Well, he understood that the most important things that's going to have us compete for a championship: elite run game, elite defense. Point blank, period. Our offense, all they have to do is just be good enough.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to be elite. And I think that spoils for both sides. I think that spoils for either side, really. If you have an elite offense, you need your defense to be good enough. And we've seen this out of the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Like, we need our defense to be good enough. Like, just you ain't got to be necessarily world beaters, but you need to be able to hold your own. So I think that's building a team that way. I think that was just very smart. And I've been saying it I've been screaming on the podcast for the longest, man. The most important pieces that's been on the defense, man, has been the interior line. We've seen it, man. We've seen it with Seattle. Like nobody on the defense has double-digit sacks. Nobody.
I think the closest one was 9, and that was D-Law.
Yeah, like everybody else, single digits. But you know what happens? That interior line causes so much problems.
You better ask San Francisco.
I mean, they're coming through there like water.
That's a fact.
You better ask that kid out in New England. What?
But Jay took a beating, boy.
He talking about, man, I'm ready to play Super Bowl. Man, y'all just played it.
Yeah, I just played. I want to play it. I want to start back over. That's not how that works, Dre. It's not. Okay.
Man, you get one shot, young blood.
Oh man.
Any kind of negatives or could be problems with having such a young staff, and how do you overcome that with the staff?
No, I don't think so at all. I think, you're talking, I think 6 of the 9 guys we hired on defense have NFL experience. I think I go back to 2 things: energy and connection. I can see the excitement of our players. Marquise Bell was in today. DeMar Overshown came in yesterday. Like, the guys are excited. They're excited about Christian and the staff that we've put together. I think, again, we left no stone unturned in the search. A couple guys from college, a couple guys that have been coordinators before at different levels of football. And at the end of the day, man, if you can teach and motivate these guys and get them to know you care about them, these guys have shown they will run through a brick wall for you. And I think that's what we're going to get.
Shot by Shotty.
Shotty, they were throwing shots in here. We could tell the conversations that has been had behind closed doors.
If you can teach, if you can show these guys that you care about them,
they'll buy in. And we've seen Shotty do this with all the different personalities he has on the offensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Getting those guys to buy in and say, hey, man, what I'm telling you will work. Yeah, we can have 2,000-yard receivers.
And 1,000-yard back.
That sounds like a fallacy when you say it like, oh, man, that's kind of, that's a rarity. Like, you just can't. He's like, no. If y'all buy in, we can do it.
And almost a 5,000-yard passer.
And some would say that CD probably would have had a ton more had he not missed so many games.
Facts.
I think he missed 6 or 7 games.
Man. So you still got 1,000 yards missing 6 or 7 games?
Yeah.
Christy Scales, Cowboys Radio 105.3. Christian, first of all, thank you. It's been 36 years of these press conferences, and now I have Marcus Aurelius and Seneca to put on my press conference bingo.
I've never used that, Christy. Is that what you're saying? I've never used that? I use Ted Lasso and things like that. Way to go.
And he wasn't talking about Seneca Wallace.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know that one.
I've been waiting. I'm waiting for the believe sign to go over there. Coach Lasso. And one thing that we hear often when there are changes on a coaching staff is coaching the coaches. the first part of this question, Brian, how long, because there was such different backgrounds offensively last year, how long did it take where you really thought everyone hit their stride in terms of coaching the coaches and being on the same page?
Are you talking about on offense? I feel like we had a good grasp of it going into the start of the offseason program, but I wouldn't say until after the OTAs we were totally aligned. I think that's important. You used a little bit of the break, during the time of the end of offseason program, OTAs end to training camp to make sure you kind of have it going. But there's constant communication. And again, I felt like we built a program on offense last year that will sustain. It's going to sustain our success, and it's going to sustain when you lose players to injuries and you're going with 4 new offensive linemen and things like that. But that only happens, Christy, through long nights, hard conversations, disagreements, arguments. That happens in our business, but you work through it. And it takes someone like a Clayton Adams, someone like a Christian Parker to work through those arguments and to get everybody aligned and going in the same direction. But it's a long task, and I think we've started it. But like I said, we're just getting started. And the biggest piece we're in right now, they're getting ready to do playbook, but right now it's personnel driven.
And so the Christian, the part to you in juggling that and where you've got, putting a playbook together, but also evaluations going into the draft. I mean, what are the immediate priorities in terms of, the staff that you brought on board, but then all of the other things that are happening going into the draft?
For sure. I think that, it definitely starts with the players. We want to be on the, have a shared vision in terms of what we're looking for, what we're prioritizing. Different positions require different things. I think that the play style that we want to exhibit is crucial. So you want to find players that fit in that mold. And then as we move on, you kind of get into, the offensive language. What are we calling formations and passing concepts and route concepts? And what is our language for tackling and taking the ball away? And then front structures, coverages, the whole nine. You just kind of go through the whole process and take it piece by piece.
And on the language, is that something where you use a lot that they've used already, or are you planning on introducing a lot new?
I think you do both. I mean, right now there's not really, the players aren't here consistently to say what they've called different things. I mean, there's been 4 different defenses in the last 4 years, so there's not a lot of continuity relative to that. So I think it starts with, the staff just, we're in the room upstairs and we kind of start with the foundation of what we want to call things and make sure it's streamlined in a way that's easily digestible for the players. And then you build on that in different realms.
Stop it, John.
Were you getting any?
I think this is a good place to, to stop it. We gave y'all an overall view of who he is and kind of how he thinks and how he ticks. I think that Shotty found a guy that he could relate to on many different levels. They're both relatively young guys in the coaching, in the coaching sphere. So they can relate on a lot of different levels. They can relate on coming from a good tree, a good pedigree, good background. Also, how they view things and how they view problems, and not only how they view problems, but how they view to solve them, and being willing to do those things. Most coaches, they hate confrontation, so a lot of times they don't address situations the way they need to be addressed. And this is prime example. CD, and we all know the story, CD and Pickens went out in Vegas the night before the game, got into some mischief, right? Basically missed curfew. And Shotty basically, addressed the problem head on. And he basically benched him for a series. And the message wasn't too much and it wasn't too little. It was just enough for them to receive what he was saying. Like, hey, I'm in control. Like, I benched you. Letting them know that, hey, either you fall in line or there will be consequences for what you do.
And they responded.
And CeeDee Lamb say, I respect it. I respect it. I messed up. Shotty showed us who was in charge. I don't think Mike McCarthy would have did that. They would have played like nothing ever happened.
You see what Aaron Rodgers turned into? The biggest jerk you probably ever come across, because he just let things roll. No, Shotty is definitely putting a institution system in place with the philosophy, how we go about things, how to address tough issues so we can get through it, not just putting it under the rug or being passive aggressive with it. No, we're gonna sit here, we're gonna talk this out. If we have to argue, we have to argue, but we'll get through this so this can be addressed, so it doesn't become a hindrance down the road. And Christian Parker comes off as like one of those type of guys. Like I meet that same type of energy. I'm that same type of guy. I'm a matter of fact guy. I'm an intellect. I'm a stoic guy, but I'm about my business. And so whatever it takes to get to the end result, I'm with it. But yeah, and it also I know we're not gonna get a chance to cover it, but I just do want to mention during the interview process, when he was finally able to come in, they had him do a simulation of how he will run the room to see how he would respond. They threw different things at him that he may encounter with players or other coaches to see how he would respond. And I think that what put him over the top when they seen that part of there, okay, he's ready. He can handle a room. It's one thing to be a leader of men. You have to be a certain way.
I seen Jonathan Gannon. They showed a video of him in front of the room, and it was so awkward. Now, Jonathan Gannon he's a good coach, but he's not what you would call a leader of men, where I can stand in front of a room and not only can I talk to you, but I can convince you and convey a message to you that can make you buy into what I'm selling. As a coach, you're selling. You're a seller. And the players are buyers.
Facts.
And you have to make them want to spend on what you're selling. And so, like he said, putting the work in, I got to make guys want to put that work in. And guys aren't going to do that if they don't believe in what you're selling. And so to put him and we know this is all Shotty, like putting him through drills like that. And he said it was a little bit uncomfortable because I've never really been asked to do that. Nobody ever put me in a situation to where it's like, hey, you have a disgruntled player. How are you going to deal with this? Got a player asleep in the meeting. Got a player on the phone in the meeting. Right? Or you got a coach who's disgruntled coach, who's disagreeing with what you're saying, or who's testing your philosophy. How you going to deal with that? How you going to confront that? And that's what Shotty wants to know, because he had that problem with Eberflus. That's why that's in place. Everything that happened has to deal with what happened last year.
Yeah.
And Shotty saying we're going to make sure that we don't repeat the same cycle. We don't get the same mentality in the building. Yeah, your X's and O's can be good, but your mentality is what sells.
Can you teach?
It's what's going to get the players to buy in. Mentality. You watch some teams, like look at the Seahawks. Their mentality, man, we hitting anything come across here. And I do mean anything. That's a mentality of your coach. They bought in. They play with reckless abandon and controlled anger.
And shout out to Shotty, man, not being afraid to go to Jerry and let him know that the way y'all been doing things, as far as picking coaches and things of that nature, is not working. And these are the reasons why it's not working.
I mean, I think it's more so I think Jerry would take a step back if the coach took a step forward. We haven't
Just-
had
right.
a coach. We haven't had a coach, and pardon my language, to put his hands on his nuts and be like, "Hey, I'm the head coach." We hadn't really had that in God knows how long, maybe 15, 20 years of a coach since probably Parcells.
That's what that's what
We hadn't had a coach that's gonna be like, "Hey, no, man, this is what we're doing. This is how we need to do this." We had coaches that's just been giving in to Jerry. Like, "Hey, Jerry, what do you think we need to hire?" Jerry like, "Oh, okay, I'll hire somebody."
Whoever you think is, I'll make it work, Jerry. Whoever you choose.
I know you do it, Jerry. And so you have a coach that finally be like, and I seen it on Shotty's face when Jerry was like, "Well, Shotty was, he was in on the Evil Flu size." Shotty looked like, "I what?"
He was here before I got it.
He got hired before I did. Y'all handed me Evil Flus. And so I think that's what transpired this year, where they was like, "Okay, we'll let you go in on your staff," because last year we did do you a disservice. We basically just handed you guys and be like, "Hey, go win." And so this year, Shot has just been, had his hand on everything.
Yeah.
And I like that Shotty allowed Christian Parker to hire his staff.
Young coaches, innovative coaches.
I like that Shotty polices, but I like that he polices fair. Like, yeah, Christian Parker, I'm watching everything you do, but also I'm not going to send you into war with unknown weapons. I'm going to give you the artillery that you feel like you need to be successful in war. I'm not going to just come and dump a bunch of artillery at your feet and be like, "Okay, now go in." And he like, "Bro, this ain't what I need." I like this buddy don't even,
I gave Shotty a musket.
like, hey, Shotty like, "Hold on, we gonna get him. we gonna get him."
You just wait.
Hold on, call a timeout. We gonna get
I'm ready now. Game over. Oh.
And you can just see the shot. The shots has been thrown like all, and you can tell it's been a conversation piece throughout Dallas Cowboys in the behind the closed doors. Even in the Pro Bowl, Dak says, "Well, CD, you know how we do. We got to keep scoring. You know how it is. They give up a touchdown. It's shots fired. So we know the conversations that's been had."
Facts.
Or even what George Pickens said. Like, yeah, it was just kind of weird because we got the number one offense, but then, we got, so it's like shots has been fired. And now you hear Christian Parker come and now he's throwing shots because, he watched like, man, they got probably the most talented offense in the league. And then you got the last defense in the league.
Yeah, you never hardly ever find that.
Not that gap. Like
Not that big of a gap.
Where you're number one here and then you're last here. Where you're averaging 30-something points a game and then your defense is averaging giving up 30 plus a game. Like it erases everything.
Yeah, like Dak said, like no matter what we did, it was just never enough.
So I thought that was so key, and I thought that, and the reason why I know that is everything is changing, and Shotty is being more controlled because Jerry wasn't there. For the first time in a long time, Jerry wasn't in a press conference of a new hire. He was there when we got Matt Eberflus. He was there when we got Shotty. Jerry always front and center.
I said Jerry on vacation on that yacht.
Jerry was like, they said Jerry was on the phone like, "Huh? You say what? You can do what? All right. Shotty, you want to be in charge?
George?
You in charge.
Josh. I got to go on vacation. Them 40 interviews wore me out.
I ain't going to be there.
I ain't going to be there.
Jerry, we got an interview with Christian Parker. Oh, y'all do, man? What time? Man, it's about 3 o'clock. I
ain't gonna be there.
Yeah, man, Jerry, it's finally look like he's finally submitting to being more of the background, especially when it comes to personnel, staffing, things of that nature. They had such a stronghold on the staff, such a stronghold on personnel. Even going to get a George Pickens, like they had Shotty written all over it. Like taking a risk to go do that. I think if had Shotty been here, I think Shotty would have fought for Amari Cooper to stay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Shotty is that strong personality that we've been lacking here, as far as in our head coach. That's not afraid of confrontation, things of that nature, or addressing tough situations, holding people accountable. We've been lacking that. So, like you said, for Parcells, that's almost 20 years ago
That's what I'm saying.
that we had a semblance of that.
And I think Parcells didn't work because Parcells was just headstrong.
So
A
he's
lot of
old
times,
school.
just to be headstrong.
Mm-hmm.
He was just prideful, just to be prideful or spiteful. Shotty is saying, "No, I'm headstrong when I need to be."
Needs to be, yeah.
And that's why I was saying, like, he polices where he needs to police, but where I need to kind of step off, I'll let you coach. I'll let you do your thing. And we seen that with Christian Parker. He went out hiring guys that nobody thought that was going to be on the staff.
Yeah,
He got a lot of first year guys.
SMU. He got the linebackers coach from Georgia. Marcus Dixon. He used to play here.
He was D-line for the Vikings.
So he's the D-line coach here. So he went and got, like you said, a lot of guys that's little to no experience on this level here. But they seem like they're, innovative young minds that understands today's game.
And guys you run into, and you like, he spent a lot of time with Georgia guys. As you see, Philly had a lot of Georgia guys on the team, right? So he spent a lot of time with Georgia, doing scouting, stuff like that. So you get to pick guys' brains, how they think, their philosophy, how they go about seeing things. And so you run into guys, and you, like Shotty said, you take a note, like, man, if I ever get a position, this is a guy that I will want on my side.
Facts.
And so that's why you see the guys he got, because he run into these guys and they have conversations and they go into depth details about how they see stuff. And he like, yeah, if I ever get a coordinating job, like, buddy, like.
And vice versa. I'm sure if they was in that position, they would do the same for him. Because
like Fangio said, man, wherever he got hired, Christian Parker had to be a mandate. I don't care what else you give me. If Christian Parker ain't coming, I'm not coming.
Facts. And then just look at the resume of work. You got Pat Surtain, best corner in the league, all pro. So I mean, he actually has body of work. He has a resume as far as what he brings as far as development. So
every stop he had, look at his, his work, it just speaks for itself.
So I do want the audience to know, and we think he's going to be great here. Just keep in mind, he is a first-year D coordinator, so there will be some mistakes. But I think overall, in the long haul, he's going to be a great coach. But I want to try to manage their expectation, thinking he's going to come out the gate and be at the top of the stack. He still has his growing pains, things of that nature.
I would say this, and he alluded to it. And I think that's what he was aiming at. When you have an offense like this, it gives us time as a defense to really grow, because you have an offense that can command the game. So basically he's saying we ain't got to be super elite off the back. And I think that's kind of what sold Shotty and Jerry of saying, like, you guys are so great offensively. You don't need basically a top 5 defense. And we can give you a top 10, top 12 defense. We can win. And the defense is only going to get better throughout the season. But if we can start out being top 10, top 12, we can win with what you guys do offensively.
Yeah.
And last year we were saying, man, we can have a top 20 defense, a top, we can have a shot to win. We just can't be dead last. Like, we lost to so many teams we should have had no business losing to.
It's a fact.
And so I think that's the thing in understanding that, and he understands that, like man, we're not coming out to be world beaters. Like, we're coming out to play our part. Like, we're gonna do our part. Now, we all know that your defense is only gonna be good as the personnel. So even though he has the right philosophy, you got to go out and get the right pieces.
Now, I am interested to see how they're going to attack free agency, to see if it's going to be different than the years past. I'm very interested to see that. Are they going to be aggressive, or are they going to sit back and just get these day 3, day 4 guys?
I think
because they're
this
cheap.
is why, I'll be honest with you. I'm gonna just be straight with y'all. This is what I honestly think they're going to do. I think they're going to go young defense. I think they want guys that they can grow with. And I think they don't want to go with the one and done type of players.
It's been the MO lately,
You go out, you try to get this guy to come in for 1 year and see what he can do, versus like a Philadelphia where you develop guys. You develop a Cooper DeJean. You develop Quinyon Mitchell, Blankenship. You develop these guys you have, and you're able to have them for multiple years and compete. The same with other teams. They develop their guys. And so, yeah, you want to go out in the free agency. Yeah, you want to get some pieces, but you want your core to be a core that you can have for, at least 2 to 3 years. Correct. And so I think that's what they're kind of looking at for the defense type of thing. Is like, yeah, we want to hit free agency, but we don't want to go stupid in free agency where we bring guys in that we can't keep.
Facts.
And so, like, yeah, we go get this guy, go get that guy. Yeah, we get him. And then, they go next year. Now we're looking to fill all those holes again. The less holes you have to fill each year, the better chance you have.
Facts.
So we shall see how this plays out, how this goes. So it's going to be interesting, man. The offseason is going to be interesting. There's a lot of moves that can be made, so we'll see what happens. A lot of trades that can be made, so we'll see that happen. See what happens. I've been hearing names of Max Crosby. I've been hearing names of Trent McDuffie, even Tyron Woolen from the Seahawks. So I've been hearing names. So we'll see which way they go and how they decide, to attack this. So my biggest thing is get somebody smart in the middle and kind of build from the inside out. You already got the inside of your interior line. Now get the inside of your linebacking core and just kind of build out. And that's kind of what teams that are successful do. Like Philly, interior line, they build out. They have their middle linebacker, they build out. And so when you have your guys that's in the center of your defense already intact, then you can just build out, man, and have pieces around those guys. So we shall see, man. how this unfolds, but I'm excited. Every Cowboy fan should be excited. Because we know he's gonna be better than Matt Eberflus.
Facts. Can't get no worse.
You know, he could have the defense we had last year. He would have been better. We wouldn't have been dead last. Tell you that.
Could have easily won 2 to 3 more games.
Easy, if not more. Because some of them touchdowns was given up because of a bad coverage, a broken coverage.
Facts.
Like, we shouldn't have lost to Carolina.
Arizona,
we shouldn't have lost. We should have beat Green Bay. It was a shootout. We should have beat them. There were several games on the thing that we shouldn't have lost. We shouldn't have lost to Philly week 1. That's
2 games there.
That's 4.
So that's 11 wins there.
So, you know, it's games that you just shouldn't have lost. We wouldn't have lost to the Giants at the end of the year. Wouldn't have lost that. We wouldn't have lost. Be honest with you, we wouldn't have lost to Detroit.
That is true. That was a game that we should have had.
The game came all the way down to the 4th quarter. Offense got us right back in it. Defense couldn't get a stop to save their life.
Yeah, we put Marquise Bell on St. Brown
multiple times on 3rd and longs, multiple times.
So,
like that's almost 5 games there that you should have won. Dallas could have easily had 12, 13 wins, easy, with an offense like that. But man, this is our insight on it, on a new hire. Of course, we'll have more come out. There'll be more and more come out. We'll look more into the staff, and they'll be interviewed, I'm pretty sure, pretty soon. It won't be a mega press conference, but they'll be interviewed, giving their takes on their new position and things of that nature. And, really excited, it's been excitement, it's been a while for us to be excited as Cowboys, but I think we have something to be excited about. Our head coach trusting, so it's a lot to be excited about, man. We'll see what moves will be made, and let's see what happens, Cowboy fans. But until next time, man, peace out, man. Hit that like button.